afternoon, everyone. I know we're a little late, so I'm gonna invite our panel to all join us at once. If I can ask Mr. Ashok Adicéam to join us on the panel. Yes, please. Followed by Dr. Volker Erhardt, Dr. Annette Kulem, and Kato Ewekia. You can take a seat, and I'm gonna briefly introduce them as we go through the questions. Mr. Ashok Adicéam, we heard before, is the Deputy Special Envoy of the President Macron and the UNOC 3 Managing Director. And my question to you is inspired to a side conversation about the importance of making sure that the work continues. Now, I've had the privilege to serve the UN for about 15 years, and one of the things I learned is that when we get to a meeting with this type of energy and enthusiasm and positive vibes, it never stops. And I had the privilege of being in Nice and to see youth very strongly engaged. Scientists, I had so many side conversations, learning so much. When you get that type of positive vibe, positive energy, I know this is gonna be the beginning and not the end, but we would love to hear from you. So what's in the way forward on oceans after Nice?
Thank you very much. Since we're late and I've spoken too much, I'll be very short. There's 3 priorities before the end of the year that we hope to achieve, and not alone, of course, but keep the baton few more months as co-host of UNOC until 2 other countries may be accepted by the UN for UNOC 4. The first responsibility is to make sure, I was saying, that the BBNJ enters into force with more than 70 countries who have, more than 50 have already ratified, and like 12 in Nice, ratified in Nice, and a list of more than 12 or 13 have also signed letters of engagement saying that they will do their best to get it ratified in their national jurisdictions before UNGA. So that's our first responsibility. And once that's done, is to call for, as soon as possible, the first COP in the year to come, in the year to follow. That means in 26. Why? Because as the minister from Vanuatu was saying, there's no more time. So there's no more time only for speeches and even gatherings. It's time for action. And action only comes, and I was speaking about this triangle, when you put this triangle together. Ocean governance at a national, multilateral, national, and local level. That's why this coalition, which is put together by GCCM, is so important, of mayors and governors. Ocean science, as you rightly said, we organized a huge congress of 2,300 scientists who gathered in Nice for 3 days and who came out with very specific recommendations. And those recommendations were really aligned with the 10 ocean action panels, which were actually basically the menu of the conference. I won't go into details right now, but just speaking about the method for action, what we believe is an impactful action. So make sure BBNJ enters into force, make sure that in 2026 there's COP1 to again work with this magic triangle, because there's no action without money. Blue economy, ocean finance has to deliver, and we need to mobilize even more than what we did the companies, the private sector, philanthropists, investors in the ocean, and that's what we're going to try to continue doing in the, I would say, the next year to come. Making use of BBNJ, I would say, as a levier, as a lever to illustrate what we have tried to mobilize in Nice, and notably with this Neptune mission, which is an invitation to invest massively in ocean exploration through science and technology and through innovation. So that's what we have in mind. I'll just say 2 others. I said I won't be long, but I've already started being long. But there's so much to do. Fisheries. We are pushing with WTO. There's still, I think, a list of 10 countries missing to finalize this Fish One agreement and the fight against illegal, unreported and unregulated fisheries, which is so important. And because that's what we try to achieve in Nice, protection is not antimonic with prosperity. Actually, it goes together. More you protect and more prosperity you are promising and getting from the ocean for mankind, because the whole objective is for the populations, is for mankind, with the nature, with the ocean. The third one is the deep seas. We have to move forward. We're going to go to Jamaica, where there's the UN organization in charge of the deep seas. We have a very strong position with 37 other countries for a moratorium. And again, it's protection for more prosperity, for more science, for more discoveries of beauties, but also of what the ocean brings to the medicine industry, for instance, which is huge. We still can't imagine how much we can get from the ocean's ecosystem with plankton, with algae, and we have not even started making use or know better than 5% of the deep sea. So that's another battle in the way forward in the next weeks and in the next months for, I would say, as far as we are concerned, France, the next 2 years under the leadership of President Macron. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and congratulations again for everything you've done in Nice. It's not just a formality, it was truly impressive for those of us who have been took part in many processes like this. And we will move on. Now, I think the other three speakers will help us reflect about an ocean-related issue, sea level rise, that is very prominent to the agenda, as you know. And the next speaker, Dr. Volker Erhard, is the head of Division 613. One of the things you learn in Germany is that when you talk about the German Foreign Office, many people remember the number before the name of the division. You covered the German Archaeological Institute, cultural preservation, culture and society. And we were having a chat just a few minutes before this panel, and I would love it if you could share with the audience. So how is it to work on culture and cultural heritage in your position as a diplomat? If you can share your experience.
With pleasure. Thanks for this question, Andrea. Well, actually, I've been invited to this panel because the German ambassador to the UN some 2 weeks ago signed an agreement with UNOPS, which is worth 1 billion euros. And the objective of this project is to develop a digital repository where people of Tuvalu can kind of archive their cultural heritage, be it material or immaterial. And it's implemented by UNOPS and the German Archaeological Institute, and my colleague Annette Kühlem will tell you more about it, about the implementation and the practical stuff. I would like to use this opportunity being here to tell you about our motivation in the Foreign Office, why we're financing projects like that. And so the reply to your question in a nutshell would be because of the really high degree of emotional power which is encapsulated in cultural heritage. And to make it more concrete, do you still remember how you felt when you saw the images of the burning Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris some 6 years ago? I have still very lively memories. I saw these images on a TV screen, and I was shocked, deeply saddened. And although I'm neither French nor Catholic, but I think rightly so, because I'm a citizen of this world. And a World Heritage Site was burning down. And so we all lost something which was close to our heart, which is part of our identity. And I think you all felt more or less the same. Now, that is the emotional power of cultural heritage in the negative case, in case of loss of cultural heritage. What we are aiming at the Foreign Office, at 613, function is more important than name, and therefore these numbers, is to achieve the opposite. If you have ever looked into the faces of people who have contributed to the preservation of cultural heritage, you will see or remember that joy, that pride of being able to pass on cultural heritage to another generation. And there's also more with it, ideally. I think of a recently inaugurated project which was implemented with the help of UNESCO. Many countries, like the United Arab Emirates, but also the European Union, Germany, and so on. It was entitled Reviving the Spirit of Mosul, where both churches and mosques and other buildings were renovated or rebuilt in order to revive that spirit of the city. And if ever people take part in that, they experience the beauty of cultural diversity, they learn tolerance, they learn, so to say, the charm of cooperation and peaceful coexistence. And that is, so to say, our credo, why we are doing it. And the ministers from the rising nations mentioned dignity. That's also a very important aspect of it. And of course, diplomats always also follow interests. There is no diplomacy without interests. We should be honest with one another. Our interest is really to develop partnerships at equal footing, providing for this dignity. And in that, we are also, of course, in a competition with others, systematic rivals. I don't have to name them, I think you know them all. But our aim is really to have fair partnerships with true respect. And this is something which we can do with cultural heritage programs, which are designed to make individuals, locals, communities contribute to it, real participatory processes. So that's it, basically. I've not really looked at the watch. Maybe the 5 minutes are already over.
Yeah, I think I didn't watch either, but thank you very much for your inspiring remarks, and we're very thankful to be your partner and for your support on the Rising Nations Initiative. Talking about our close partnership, our next speaker, Dr. Kulem, who is a research archaeologist at the German Archaeological Institute and who's a core partner of the initiative. So, Dr. Kulem, we would like to hear a couple of things. One is, it would be great for everybody also in the audience to learn a little bit more about doing cultural heritage work concretely in the Pacific, especially in the case of Tuvalu. And maybe one other point that I would love you to cover is Dr. Erhard was highlighting the importance of a truly participatory approach, which is something, of course, we share from day one of our partnership. But we would love to also hear if you have any reflection on the importance of a really participatory approach. Over to you.
Thank you very much for that question, Andrea, or for the two questions. About doing research or cultural heritage work in the Pacific, what I'm always impressed by is how many common denominators there are, but then also how many differences there are on the different islands. And our research, but also our cultural heritage efforts always need to take those into account. So there is not one answer that you can just broadly apply high. And of course, that needs very close cooperation with local communities. And that is something that is very near and dear to my heart, first of all, but it's also something that our work is not possible without. So the first thing we do is that we establish cooperations and get insights from local knowledge holders. So it is always an interdisciplinary approach that we have between traditional knowledge systems, and then our scientific approaches, our methodology, and then specifically working in the Pacific on cultural heritage. Of course, in the last years, climate change effects and specifically on cultural heritage has become much more part of the discussion, and very importantly so, because cultural heritage is so deeply linked to human identity, to genealogies, to human dignity at the end of the day. And so that has become a big part of our work as German Archaeological Institute in the Pacific, where climate change effects are very, very drastically felt. And one of the things that is at the center is the urgency behind it. So what we are working with is digital documentation techniques to safeguard knowledge, and that needs to be something that is accessible, that is cost effective, and that is time efficient, because time is of the essence when with the big tasks at hand and with the intricacies of physical sites, of physical objects, of cultural heritage, but also of all the many intangible aspects that also need to be protected and safeguarded and documented.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Kulem and I and Kato had the privilege to spend a few weeks in visiting all island communities of Tuvalu, which was a great experience. And maybe through the Q&A we will also have the chance to talk more about that. And really, the trip was a success, and it would not have been possible without your work, Kato. It was really a real pleasure working with you on it. And you've been at the last 4 COPs as a youth delegate, so you've seen a lot, both in terms of the situation in a country like Tuvalu, but also the global policy processes. So we would love to hear from you about your journey as a climate activist. Over to you.
May I please take the podium, please?
Of course.
Right, I know it's been a very long day. I see some people yawning, so I want to bring some Pacific vibes into the house. Before I start, I would like to sing a song. I did this song with Grace. I recorded it, and then I'll tell my story. Thank you. This song was composed by Kaniele. He was one of my uncle, and he passed away already, and I would like to share his music with you. Whenua Faftelas, thank you. My name is Kato Ewekia, and I come from an island nation in the heart of the Pacific, Tuvalu. Tuvalu, the fourth smallest country in the world, and I'm truly honored to be here today as one of the youth delegate and also a fellow of the Global Center of Climate Mobility. It is a privilege to carry the deep pride, not just for myself, but for my people. And I also want to take this time to thank the Global Center of Climate Mobility for the opportunity. Like many young people, I grew up with a dream. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to share the music of Tuvalu, our rhythms, our language, our spirit across the Pacific, and hopefully around the world. Music has been my way of telling stories and keeping my culture alive. But after I released my fourth original song, we experienced one of the strongest winds to ever hit Tuvalu. And for the first time, I truly feared what was happening to my home. I started asking questions. What will happen to the next generation's Tuvaluan musicians if there's no Tuvalu left to sing about? What will happen to the songs that live in our land, in our waves, and in our wind? The moment I realized I needed to do more, I chose to become a climate activist, not instead of being a musician, but because I want music to still have a home in Tuvalu. I want the future generation to compose, to play, and to sing our songs in the land of our ancestors. Our reality at home is hard to put into words. When drought hits, families like mine gathered at the community water tank with our buckets, hoping there's enough to get us through the day. In the morning, we fill 6 buckets to use for the day. In the evening, we fill 6 buckets to last us through the night. That's all we have. We don't have rivers or mountain streams to rely on. We depend on rain for water source. And when high tide comes, the seawater doesn't just come from the ocean and the lagoon side. It rises underneath the island as well, as if the sea is slowly reclaiming everything we stand on. I will never forget, as our minister said, what happened during Cyclone Pam in 2015. The waves were so strong on the island of Nui that they dug up the bones of our ancestors. Imagine the heartbreaking of seeing our own history scattered by the sea. The beach where I used to play rugby with my friend as a kid, gone, washed away in the storm. Even our fishermen have to go further out to sea. The corals are dying because of the heat, and the fish are disappearing, going deeper, further away from the island. And yet, with all this, I'm still proud. Proud that Tuvalu is still standing, that we are still singing, that our culture is still alive. And this is why I'm here. I did not come alone. I brought with me my strength, my love, and the voices of the 11,000 Tuvaluans. And we may be small in number, but we are warriors. My hope, my deepest hope, is that Tuvalu will still be there in 100 years and beyond. That our people won't have to force to live because of climate crisis. That our children and their children will grow up surrounded by our language, our songs, and the beauty of our island. And in the future, I hope the world will no longer refer to Tuvalu as the sinking island. Instead, I want Tuvalu to be known as the rising nation. Rising in courage, rising in leadership, and rising in hope. Prof, Tuvalu with God, Tuvalu mo te atua.
Thank you very much, Kato. This was so powerful. Thank you. And we're lucky to have you as one of our climate mobility fellows. And take the opportunity to mention that there's 11 more. I see most of them in that corner. So we have a fantastic audience, many backgrounds in the room. Please take a chance over the cocktail and then the coffee breaks to have a chat with them. They have wonderful profiles. Thanks again, Kato, really wonderful words. And I know we're a bit late, but I see the Master of Ceremony nodding, meaning I think we can do one round of questions perhaps, and we'll try to collect maybe up to 3. And yeah, and then we'll get the answers from the...
See one there, see one there. Go to the back. Come in.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for your speech and for everything that you share to us, for your culture, for example, and also the idea and your point of view. Actually, my question is for Mr. Adicéam. I'm sorry for the pronunciation. I'm here my name is Pauline Capel. I'm here as a representative of the Guinea Embassy, but also as a French citizen. And my question is, how does the Nice commitment differ from previous commitments to protect the ocean? And also, is it ambitious enough to tackle the climate and ocean emergency? Thank you very much.
We'll collect, as mentioned, maybe 3.
Thank you. What implications do you all see for advancing the work next year with the follow-up conference and so on? What impact do you think the fact that we're dealing with, and how do you all plan to deal with it, the fact that we have in the United States now a climate denialist, a person who is destroying the National Oceans Authority, and a fascist in power? How do you deal with the US and how are you all thinking strategically about that, given that they are going to be blocking by the sounds of it? Thanks.
Anyone else? Last chance for, yeah.
Hi, thank you very much for the very wonderful panel. I talked to a friend and one of the audience here earlier, and I told him I'm not an ocean person, but actually all of us somehow are oceans because ocean impact the land and everything is a dynamic. But my question really is for all of you as a panelist. What I mentioned earlier about the idea of the geoengineering and how would this new push for this new technologies mean for the oceans, and if scientifically you think this will do something good or bad, or, I mean, what is your general intake on that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think we can maybe go for a final, you can answer your question. Of course, you, sir, you had a direct question to you. Otherwise, you can answer questions if you so wish, or you can also take the opportunity to share any final words you may want to share with the audience. Sir.
No, I'll respond to the question and thank my fellow citizen from France who's working here for I would say, a cultural dialogue within Germany's fantastic diversity cityscape. I won't go into details. Actually, the Nice commitments for the ocean is 13 pages, so it'll be too long to respond to your question. But please go through it, and you'll see that I'll just read the headers. It's very concrete. 13 pages of only highlights. What is the Nice commitments for the ocean? Basically, it's the political declaration of the UN, which was adopted at the end of the session, which is called Our Ocean, Our Future, Call for Urgent Action. And then it's also the voluntary, the NDCs, the nationally determined contributions. It's also the report of our 3 UNOC special events, the Science Congress, the Resilience Coastal Cities Summit, and the Blue Economy and Finance Forum, which all came out with very concrete actions, commitments. And it's finally also, I would say, new coalitions like this coalition of countries who have 2 points in common, the high seas and not the deep seas. I won't go into details, but again, just say that for us, it's a triangle of priorities, bringing ocean governance, ocean science, and blue economy together in every action to make sure that all stakeholders are involved and that they deliver concrete action. So if you go through the 13 pages, you will see how much concrete these outcomes of Nice are. And to respond, and then I'll stop talking, to respond to your question on the geopolitical sphere, I think that, you know that with the number of countries we had in Nice, 92% of the EEZs in the world, 92% were represented. 92%. Means with 92% of the EEZs, you can change the ocean agenda.
Sorry, exclusive economic zones.
Yeah, with 92% of that, even if the leading, the first maritime country in the world was not present, was really present in a technical level, you still can change the world. And that's the force of multilateralism. That's the force of Professor Kamal Amakrane with UNOPS at the UN. It's not because you have one country which is not willing to come or to participate in the contribution, in the action, that the others cannot. And that's the force of multilateralism. And I think that's what we wanted to defend very concretely with the ocean agenda. So we have a lot of hope, especially in democracy. Because democracy allows changes as well, not only in the global sphere. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Please, if you want to applaud. I would like to continue replying to your question, sir. Of course, the US is a sovereign state, and the US is a democracy. So, in the same vein as we want our sovereignty to be respected, we have to respect the decision of the US electorate. But as many correspondents pointed out, many experts, there will be midterms in the US, and let's see how things develop. And whatever the US president may say, he cannot force his opinion to be shared by you or by, as Mr. Ambassador was also referring to, by a multilateral representation of other states or of the greater public of this world. And let's see which kind of dynamics will develop. From my point of view, it is really important that we count, on the one hand, on the democratic conviction of the US civil society, and on the other hand, on multilateralism. And let me make a final remark. I had the privilege to serve in Brussels for the last 3.5 years at the European External Action Service. And I felt, not just in the remarks of Ursula von der Leyen, the Commission President, or leading politicians, but I also felt among colleagues in recent months a real determination to accept the geopolitical challenge which we face. And there is a real determination of not sitting idle, but of developing, growing further. And if you look at the history of European integration, this EU has always been able to develop further, to make big steps whenever there was a huge pressure from the outside. Without that pressure, that's kind of natural for diplomats, bureaucrats, politicians. Not so much happens. But if there is real pressure from the outside, huge progress is possible. And this, in the end, makes me believe in optimism, although we all face serious challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Erda. Dr. Kulem, over to you.
So as a cultural researcher, I would maybe like to opt for more of some final words, which maybe on a very broad scale still relate to both of your questions. And when you look into the past of humankind, we are very, very noticeable, and we as the human race are amazing in adapting and in making it work. And there have been across the globe several instances of where we have gotten it wrong, where we have overexploited resources, but in most cases, we were able to turn things around. And Minister Thalia mentioned this morning how we live in a time where common sense got lost. And there has been situations like this globally in our shared past as humans. And every time we somehow managed to turn it around. And so I do have faith in all of us that in this very situation we will also be able to turn it around. And it's a question of adaptation, it is a question of ingenuity, and it's mainly a question of choices we make and changes we make. And choices that we make here have effects on the other side of the world. And yeah, so we have a pretty good track record as the human race of eventually making things work. So that's my final words.
Kato, any final words?
No, thank you. I just want to once again thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
So just to conclude, just a final word of thanks again on our side, not only for our panelists for joining us today and sharing very insightful, inspiring remarks, also to the government of France and Germany for your support and excellent partnership, and the German Archaeological Institute, also our great partner in Tuvalu, and Kato for leading the way and really your very inspiring remarks and 4 years working together, it's been a pleasure. So I invite everybody to just join me in a last round of applause for the panel, and then I'll pass the word to Dave.